Hi, Weenie. Do you come to participate? That's actually possibly the worst spot you could sit in while I'm doing this, but I appreciate you wanting to hang. What are we looking at? No, I don't know. No. Ugh. Why is your breath so bad all of a sudden? Did you eat something nasty? No, I don't want to make out sometimes. I wish you could just talk back. I feel like that would be both a blessing and a curse. Hi, kids. Welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. Winnie is down here with some stinky breath. Cheese is forever in that spot. Honestly, she just wants us to come sit on the couch with her, so I feel like she never wants to leave that spot. And we are here today to talk about some books. I know, surprising, really plot twisting, you know? I am going to move this over here. Excuse me, ma'am. Pardon. I have my laptop right here. So if I'm looking off to the side, that is what I'm looking at. Not something incredibly exciting and cool. Just my laptop. I am here today to talk about some books that have come out in the month of March. March was pretty prolific as far as books coming out goes. I feel like in the spring and the fall, there's a lot of books. And we like it, because what do we like? Books. Right, Winnie? Let's talk about some books. Please don't hit me. I love you. Let's talk about some books that came out in the month of March, because as we reach the end of March, all of these books are now available to you. You can get your grubby little paws on them ASAP. And that's for me too. These are books I'm interested in as well. Winnie is not interested. Winnie is annoyed that someone is not currently petting her. She doesn't care who. Could be me, could be anyone with hands. Some of these I'm going to read a portion of the synopsis. Some of this I'm just going to give you a little snippet. It's just whatever it takes to get the vibe across. The first book we're going to talk about is A Harvest of Hearts. This is said to invoke Howl's Moving Castle. It is a whimsical story of fantastic adventure, common sense, and the power of love. Before Foss Butcher was snagged, she thought no more of the magic users than anyone else did in her tiny village. Sometimes gorgeous women in impossible carriages rolled into town and took bits of people's hearts. Everyone knew hearts fueled magic. But Foss, plain, clumsy, and practical as a boot, never expected someone to want hers. And true enough, when the only sorcerer in the kingdom stepped out from his glossy carriage, he didn't intend to hook Foss. Now, Foss finds herself cursed and on an adventure with a talking cat, learning magic and finding love on a mission to save the kingdom. This sounds like a really fun, good time. I like the idea of hearts fueling magic, and it sounds like our grumpy sorcerer and our practical Foss are going to go on this adventure, and the feelings might start between them. The next book is A River Has Roots, and this is from an author that you might recognize as one of the authors from This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is absolutely beautiful, and I really, really loved it. If it's something that you haven't picked up before and you like sci-fi yet lyrical, beautiful stories, it's short and lovely, and I highly recommend. This story starts with the small town of Thistleford on the edge of Fairy, where dwells the mysterious Hawthorne family, where they tend and harvest enchanted willows and honor an ancient compact to sing to them in thanks for their magic. None more devoutly than the family's latest daughters, Esther and Isabel, who cherish each other as much as they cherish the ancient trees. But when Esther rejects a forceful suitor in favor of a lover from the land of Fairy, not only the sisters bond, but their lives will be at risk. So there's a land of Fairy where I'm assuming the Fae live, that we travel to. I'm assuming for this one, the audiobook is highly recommended by people that have been able to get their hands on it. It sounds like there's a lot of extra audio, sound effects, and works put into the effort. But I know this author writes really beautifully and lyrically, and so that lends itself to Fae so well to me in my mind. I'm really interested in picking this up. The next book we're going to talk about is Our Infinite Fates. This is said to be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue meets How You Lose the Time War, which is by the author that we just talked about. Obviously, people really like that story, Winnie. She's just like staring at me right now. It's really hard to concentrate. Our Infinite Fates. I'm just going to give you a little blurb for this because when I read the full synopsis, I feel like it almost gives you too much without really giving you anything more. So all I really needed was they loved each other in 1,000 lifetimes and they've killed each other in every single one. This sounds like these two people keep getting reincarnated over and over and over again, but they still get to retain the knowledge of all the lives they've lived, when in this life, the most recent incarnation has a reason they want to stay here. They need to live longer in order to save someone else's life. And so the journey they've been going on for multiple lifetimes needs to change in order for them to do that. The next book we're going to talk about is The Dream Hotel. This is a woman's fight for freedom in a near future where even dreams are under surveillance. Using data from her dreams, the Risk Assessment Administration's algorithm has determined that Sarah is in imminent risk of harming the person she loves the most, her husband. For his safety, she is kept under observation for 21 days at a retention center, a place full of dreamers trying to prove their innocence. Months pass and Sarah feels no closer to release when a new resident arrives, disrupting the order and sending them on a collision course with the very companies that deprived them of their freedom. This sounds very, what's that, Minority Report, where you're punishing people for crimes they have yet to commit, the overabundance of surveillance and what that means. I think this sounds pretty interesting. The next book we're going to talk about is The Antidote. This opens on Black Sunday as a historic dust storm ravages the small fictional town of Uz, Nebraska. But Uz is already close to collapsing, not just under the weight of the Great Depression and the drought of the Dust Bowl, but under its own violent history. In this, we follow a prairie witch whose body serves as a bank vault for people's memories and secrets, a Polish wheat farmer who learns quickly how a blessing can become a curse, his orphan niece, a basketball star and the witch's apprentice, a voluble scarecrow, and a photographer whose time-traveling camera threatens to reveal the town's secrets and fate. This just sounded incredibly interesting to me. It sounds like there's just a hint of magic taking place in this very historic moment within American history. I like that there's going to be witches and talking scarecrows, but yet people with the everyday problems of just the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. I'm highly interested. Also, the cover is really cool. There's just something about the colors of the cover which absolutely drew me in. The next book we're going to talk about is The Rose of Jericho, and this is by the author of Red Rabbit, which is a Western horror story that I really, really enjoyed. This is not necessarily a sequel, but is a continuation of a story following several characters from Red Rabbit. So in order to not spoil Red Rabbit if you haven't read it, I'm not going to tell you all of the characters that make it into this story, because Red Rabbit is such a good story and I think you should go pick it up. I think you should read it. It's, if you're at all interested, it's a Western with ghosts and witches and demons and toads, and totally worth it. Go pick up Red Rabbit. And then once you finish that, you can read The Rose of Jericho. This is a supernatural horror where ghosts and ghouls are the least of the witches' problems in the small village of Ascension, Massachusetts, where the dead are not dying. When our witch and friends arrive to help an ailing cousin, they immediately notice that their home is full of ghosts. In New England in 1880, it is notoriously unwelcoming to the weird, and the villagers are wary of these new visitors as the women try to figure out what's happening in this town, while an even more dangerous force is galloping in their direction. If you read Red Rabbit, you probably know which characters are going to be involved in this story, but also that anything is possible. These are historical horror novels and can get very brutal, but it's also not necessarily the supernatural element that's always brutal. These historic places during these time periods were brutal onto themselves. Some of the horrors are just things that people encountered, and some of them are ghosts and ghoulies. I'm very excited to continue on in this world that this author has created. Next up, we have The Night and the Butcherbird. This is a short story by an author whose short stories I have really, really enjoyed. If you have not read The Six Deaths of the Saint, go read it right now. It's like 30-something pages, and it is perfection. I have also read at least one full-length novel by this author and had an okay good time, but their strength is really in their short stories, and so when I saw they had a new Amazon original short story available, you better believe that I was excited and that immediately went on the TBR. This is set in a dystopian world where we have a local storyteller from a small settlement who is trying to save a demon from a knight who has been hired to kill it, and that is all I'm giving you. It's short. I think it's about 36 pages, and so it's definitely not going to waste your time. The next book on this list is The Bane Witch, and this is touted as practical magic meets Gone Girl, which are fun buzzwords and totally got my attention. This is a spellbinding novel about a woman who is more than a witch. She's a hunter. Pierce Corbin has always had an affinity for poisonous things, plants, and men. When she fakes her own death in an attempt to escape her volatile marriage, she goes to stay with her estranged great aunt in the mountains. There she realizes her predilection, which, pause, predilection is one of my favorite words. I don't know. It just predilection just rolls off the tongue so good. Where she realizes her predilection is more than a hunger, it's a birthright. Pierce comes from a long line of poison eaters, Bane witches, women who ingest poisonous plants and use their magic to rid the world of dangerous men. Yes, absolutely. Witches that eat poisonous plants to then in turn take out bad guys. Yes, absolutely. Just that's enough. And last but not least, When the Moon Hits Your Eye. This is the most recent book from this author, who is known for their slightly funny takes on sci-fi. Just they write funny, kind of satirical leaning books. In this book, the author brings an entirely serious take on a very unserious subject. What if the moon was replaced by a giant wheel of cheese? Through the length of a lunar cycle, we follow multiple characters' lives as they confront the strange and new world they live in with their absurd and impossible moon. So basically, what would happen to the world if the moon was cheese? Which honestly, I like cheese. I'm sure there would be negative implications because we need the moon for lots of things. Cheese is pretty great. I have a dog named Cheese. Come on. I'm a fan of cheese, you know? But that, kids, is where we're going to end this list. You've made it so far through the year already. It is nearing the end of March. Probably by the time you see this, it'll be the end of March. Now you have a whole new list of books to just ruin your TBR plans. You've just got so many more books to read, and they just came out. Let's pick up some fun new releases and just screw all those old books that have been waiting to be read. But if you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are, and I'd love to hear about them. And we'll see you next time.